Nita was born in a small village nestled in the foothills of the Great Mountains. She was a curious and lively child who loved exploring the forests and streams near her home. On a normal day in this village, the busy hunters will go to the thick forest and bring a game to the market square, where neighboring towns would swarm through the markets and buy all these meats. The women in this village indulged in a popular trade of fried cassava called gari among the rich continents of West Africa. In the bustling markets, the children will skip around as they knock down an array of fresh vegetables. They always played a game of hide and seek. Popular among the gang of leaders of this game was Nita. She was always the cheerful young girl who would only gather her mates to play after she was done with her chores. No game in the town went past her. However, when Nita was 7 years old, a tragic accident changed her life forever. As the crickets chipped to welcome the sunset around noon, Nita and her friends went to the riverbank. This was their norm of catching the little fishes and storing them in a tank as a form of a pet. While playing by the river, she slipped on a wet rock and fell into the raging waters. The current swept her downstream, and her left arm became lodged between two sharp boulders, shattering the bones. By the time the villagers pulled her from the river, infection had set in. Despite their healing herbs and prayers, they could not save the arm. It had to be amputated. Nita survived the traumatic injury, but became a shy and withdrawn child. She kept the stump of her arm hidden in shame, believing she was now broken. Kids her age would sometimes tease her about her missing limb. This only added to her sadness. Her once boundless energy was now replaced with melancholy. Why were her peers treating her this way? She was the same person who would walk into their homes and call them to come to the village square to continue with their games. Similarly, her daily routine was limited, and she was opted out of many household chores. She would walk around the whole village with her stump under a cloth, as she envied the children that picked firewoods and went to the farms with their parents. Tony and Joyce found themselves in a state of distress and sorrow. They faced the relentless scrutiny of their neighbors, who constantly cast accusatory glances from afar. Before they knew it, they had become the subject of widespread gossip within the town, as the villagers collectively asserted that their lack of caution had led to their young child playing by the river with friends, unaccompanied by any adults. During the late hours of the night, Tony and Joyce awoke from bed and talked deep into the night about the numerous criticisms they were receiving from the once lovely villagers. They finally came to a conclusion to flee from the village at dawn one day and move into a new town where they will start up from scratch. No one will worry their young child anymore, and perhaps she might find joy making friends with the children there. Over the following weeks, they gradually sold off their possessions bit by bit, hoping to avoid arousing suspicions in the village. Finally, the anticipated day arrived. The family painstakingly cleared their compound and carried out their usual daily routines near the riverside. As midnight descended, they gathered their belongings and set off deep into the forest in search of a glimmer of light from a neighboring town. Nita, perched upon her father's shoulders, accompanied them through the eerie forest, encountering strange occurrences along the way. Maneuvering through the rubble and sharp vegetation, they eventually arrived in a secluded town nestled amidst the mountains. This town operated without a king, offering refuge to individuals from distant towns who had been either banished for committing a crime or faced severe criticism due to an incurable disease or condition. It was situated just a short distance away from a volcano. This enigmatic settlement was known as Anak. People here lived in harmony and supported each other with the little they had. They even planned on installing one of the men as king. Within days, Nita had made friends, whilst Tony and Joyce joined in the ranks of the other villagers who only ate by going into the forest to hunt for meat and harvest the crops. They prayed each night, thanking the gods for having mercy on them and making them have back their once bountiful and peaceful life. Nita and her family had lived in this village for almost a year. However, one morning, the ground felt different. It felt extremely hot and vibrated for seconds within every hour. Nita felt the urge to go hunting with her father and mother. She pleaded to come along. The family of 3 got lost in the wilderness and spent close to 2 days in the thick forest. When they finally made it home, they were met with a sight of disgust. The whole village had been wiped out by a volcanic eruption. Trembling with fear, Tony knelt down in anguish and cried to the gods. The only home he knew was gone, and there was nothing he could do about it. He constantly mentioned his daughter and wife, and told the gods to have pity on them. During the prayer, the family saw a bring light appear before them. Emerging from it was a god who summoned Tony and his family to go back to their previous village. He cautioned, "My son, I know you're deeply saddened by the actions of your people towards your daughter's misfortune. However, I'm making you and your family anew. You'll receive the attention you need, and I will restore back your daughter's arm. Go, for I am with you." Rumors of Tony and his family's arrival reached the king, prompting him to summon them to his palace. During their visit, Tony explained the reasons for their departure from the town. In response, the king issued a stern warning, cautioning against any form of mockery or criticism aimed at Tony and his family, specifically concerning their daughter's misfortune. The king made it clear that immediate punishment would be enforced for those who disregarded this caution. Similarly, the village elders took pity on Nita. They decided to call upon the gods who dwelled within the great mountains to help the girl. One morning, the entire village gathered at the base of the mountains. The elder shamans lit incense and began chanting, sending prayers to the gods to restore Nita's arm and spirit. Suddenly, dark clouds gathered over the mountain peaks, lightning flashing within them. Thunder rumbled across the sky, and a bright light shone down from above. The winds picked up, blowing dust all around the awestruck villagers. From the glowing heavens descended an object, floating down until it landed gracefully at Nita's feet. It was an arm cast out of pure gold. Where a hand should have been was an ornately carved lotus flower. Intricate symbols decorated the rest of the shining limb. Nita looked down in disbelief. The elder shamans commanded her to pick it up. As soon as she did, a warm energy flowed from the metal into her body. The golden arm came alive and moved with her muscle commands. It was lightweight and stronger than any normal arm. The shamans explained the significance of the gift. The gods recognized Nita's kind spirit and granted her special protection. The lotus symbolized the emergence of beauty from hardship. When one can bloom after such trials, they have great power within. With her golden arm, Nita would help lead her people toward prosperity. In the following years, Nita grew into a courageous and compassionate woman, committed to aiding her village. She carried heavy loads that would burden others, cultivated the most bountiful crops, and helped build new huts with her powerful new arm. It seemed to have a magic of its own. When threats arose, whether human or beast, Nita defended the village without fear. The golden arm neither tarnished nor dented, and gave her almost superhuman strength. In times of drought or sickness, Nita led prayers upon the mountainside and was visited by the gods with guidance. The people spoke of her with admiration. Parents would request her blessings upon their newborns. She became a symbol of hope and perseverance to all.